Vi ricordo che stiamo cambiando sito, allora non più www.letteralmente.info ma www.istitutosoleluna.it. Potete scriverci, nuovo indirizzo di posta elettronica info@istitutosoleluna.it, oppure anche kradio@istitutosoleluna.it. Vi ricordo quindi il nuovo sito www.istitutosoleluna.it. Prende il posto, o prenderanno, non so se quando state ascoltando questa trasmissione già letteralmente.info non è più esistente, prende o prenderà il posto di www.letteralmente.info. Nuovo sito, ripeto, www.istitutosoleluna.it.
Emozioni e forti vibrazioni. K Radio è sempre con te.
Letteralmente Radio Yoga Network. www.letteralmente.info. Nostro indirizzo di posta elettronica radioyoganetwork@gmail.com. Buon ascolto.
Radio Yoga Network @gmail.com. Letteralmente Radio Yoga Network vi invita ad ascoltare Radio Notizie, panorama del radioascolto internazionale a cura di Dario Gabrielli. Per contattare la redazione, radionotizie@hotmail.com.
saluto a tutti gli ascoltatori di Letteralmente Radio da Dario Gabrielli e la redazione di Radio Notizie. Oggi cominciamo a parlare della scelta del ricevitore. All'inizio si consiglia di ascoltare le emittenti con un ricevitore che possiede le 3 bande, ossia modulazione di frequenza, onde medie ed onde corte, che sul ricevitore sono riprodotte con le sigle FM, MV e SV. Questi ricevitori si trovano facilmente nei negozi di elettronica oppure in internet ed hanno vari prezzi che partono dai 40 euro e possono arrivare oltre i 1000 euro. Non tutti i ricevitori coprono tutte le frequenze. Infatti alcuni ricevitori sono usati principalmente dai radioamatori che usano particolari frequenze a loro assegnate, che partono dai 26.000 kHz ed arrivano ai 27.500 kHz. Le emittenti internazionali trasmettono principalmente sulla frequenza che vanno dai 2300 kHz ai 26.100 kHz. Esistono 2 tipi di ricevitori: quelli a copertura continua, che sono apparati che coprono tutto lo spettro delle onde corte, senza interruzioni. E con queste radio si possono ascoltare, oltre alle emittenti radio, anche i radiofari, che sono dei trasmettitori radio che trasmettono in continuazione un segnale sulla specifica frequenza che serve per segnalare la posizione di un ostacolo. Frequenze della polizia, carabinieri, che sconsiglio vivamente di ascoltare all'aria aperta in quanto questo è vietato. Quasi tutti i ricevitori sono in grado di ricevere il tipo di emissione usate dalle stazioni delle radio statali, come la RAI. Ma per l'ascolto delle emittenti utility, che sono delle emittenti che trasmettono segnali non destinati al pubblico, tipo informazioni meteo utilizzato per il controllo aereo. Se volete maggiori informazioni sul contenuto, potete scrivermi al seguente indirizzo: radionotizie@hotmail.com. Un saluto a tutti e ci sentiamo la prossima settimana. Dario.
Ebbene sì, sei su Letteralmente Radio Yoga Network, la mia radio, la tua radio. Letteralmente Radio Yoga Network, www.letteralmente.info. Nostro indirizzo di posta elettronica radioyoganetwork@gmail.com. Radio Letteralmente Yoga Network, la radio che ti sta sempre vicina.
Radio Krishna è questa. Radiofoniche staticamente parlando, o meglio, ascoltando. Ovunque in Italia non c'è paragone.
The Shortwave Radio Audio Archive, SRAA, is a collection of shortwave radio recordings that you can download or listen to as a podcast. The collection grows every day and includes both historic recordings and current recordings from the shortwave radio spectrum. The goal of this site is for shortwave radio enthusiasts to have a place to store, archive, and share their radio recordings with the world. shortwavearchive.com.
This is Radio Caroline. It is now 12 midnight. Radio Caroline would like to extend its thanks to Mr. Harry Wilson and his local government for at last, after over 3.5 years of broadcasting, recognizing this station's legality. Its right to be here, its right to be broadcasting to Great Britain and the continent, its right to give the music and service to the peoples of Europe, which we have been doing since Easter Sunday 1964. And we in turn recognize your right as our listener to have freedom of choice in your radio entertainment, and of course that Radio Caroline belongs to you. It is your radio station, even though it costs you nothing. And as we enter this new phase in our broadcasting history, you naturally have our assurance that we intend to stay on the air because we belong to you and we love you. Caroline continues. This is Radio Caroline. It is now 12 midnight. Radio Caroline would like to extend its thanks to Mr. Harry Wilson and his local government for at last, after over 3.5 years of broadcasting, recognizing this station's legality, its right to be here, its right to be broadcasting to Great Britain and the continent, It's right to give the music and service to the peoples of Europe, which we have been doing since Easter Sunday, 1964. And we, in turn, recognize your right as our listener to have freedom of choice in your radio entertainment, and of course that Radio Caroline belongs to you. It is your radio station, even though it costs you nothing. And as we enter this new phase in our broadcasting history, you naturally have our assurance that we intend to stay on the air because we belong to you and we love you. Caroline continues. Late morning hours GMT. And then you can move over to 31 meters during the early afternoon hours. There is also reported fine reception again from North America, this occurring on the 11 and 13 meter bands during the early afternoon GMT and in Europe. The southern part of Africa very strong on 13 meters during the late afternoon, and West Africa is giving the same results, fine reception on 13 meters during the late afternoon. The 31 and 31 meter bands providing fine reception from the distant states in Asia, the Near East to China, and from Australia to Japan. And the 41 and 49 meter bands are now characterized by strong interference on so many channels. The reason for this, Albania has several new strong transmitters on these two bands, and Albania is clashing with other European stations. Now, after about 1600 GMT, Albania and East Germany are both on 7.3 kilohertz with strong transmitters, and I guess you know the results, utter chaos. All in all, now fine reception for successful DXing and just plain old good listening to shortwave at all times and on all bands, and I ask you what could be better. Also, the Telecommunications Disturbance Forecast Center reports that solar activity appears to be somewhat stable, and radio propagation conditions are expected to be slightly depressed, especially during local nighttime hours towards the end of the week, and that should be around the 7th or 8th of November. Talk about November here, the new November issue of the Radio New York Worldwide.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of the Hour of Decision, direct from the scene of the Japan Crusade International here in Tokyo. This is Chris Barrow speaking on behalf of Mr. Graham and the team, inviting you to share with us the next few moments of song and spoken word as we present the highlights of these miraculous days of the Tokyo Crusade. You'll hear Jimmy McDonald with Ted Smith at the piano and John Innes at the organ. Grady Wilson reading from God's Word. The 1,500-voice Tokyo Crusade Choir. And then, as always, a man with a message from the Word of God for times like these, the voice of this hour, Billy Graham. We open our program today as the Crusade Choir here in Tokyo sings for you.
今夜のプログラムを東京国際大会の聖歌隊の合唱をもっていたします。
They're singing a hymn that speaks about the angry waves rolling.
波は高まってもという歌がございます。
But the sure anchor and defense we have in the Lord Jesus Christ.
私たちはイエス・キリストのうちに確固とした怒りを持つ。
Though the angry surges roll, my anchor holds.
たとえ勢いの波風がいかに高まっても、その怒りは絶対に揺るぐこと。
This is Trans World Radio broadcasting from Bonaire in the Netherlands and France.
This is Kirana calling. This is Kirana calling. We begin our broadcast in English language. Please, 114, 125, 125, 156, 100. New transport number for the month of October was 86.5. Now here is monthly transport numbers for the coming 6 months. November, 99. December, 101. January, 103. February, 105. March, 107. And 109. That is because we still have one more record for you, presented by Bob.
Well, I hope you will like it. It's the German version of Jackson, sung by Chris Howland. You've been listening to the Switchfoot Road Merry-Go-Round, edited by Bob Fonte. English language broadcast from Canada. We've been transmitting to the countries of the Caribbean on 19.75 meters, 15190 kilohertz, and on 25.59 meters, 11.725 kilohertz, and to the United States of America on 31.17 meters, 9625 kilohertz. Listeners' questions, comments, and reception reports may be addressed to the CBC International Service, Post Office Box 6000, Montreal, Canada. We invite you to stay tuned now for our programs to Latin America. In just a few moments, we'll have our half-hour broadcast in Portuguese, followed by 45 minutes in Spanish.
Ne quittez pas l'écoute. Dans quelques instants, vous pourrez entendre notre programme en langue espagnole.
Today's Science Digest.
United States Army and Television Service.
This is Al LePage in Washington, D.C. Vietnam, the Congo, the nation's capital, or wherever in the world it happens. You'll hear the latest news and actualities every hour on the hour from the armed.
You are listening to the Voice of America from Greenville, North Carolina. This is the Voice of America. The following program is in Portuguese.
BBC World Service. The news, read by Ian Staff.
is the Voice of America, resuming its transmission from Greenville, North Carolina, on this frequency.
Call from your radio. She's now in the tour of the... For the past 5 minutes or so, you've been listening to music of Paul Alcock and the Tijuana Drive. The time now is 8 o'clock. This is your Windward Island Broadcasting Service. And now to 12 o'clock, we invite you to listen to music played by Ray Anthony with trumpet and orchestra.
This is the BBC. 41.
From Philadelphia, Bulgaria. Today, all the available subject to report by the Central Broadcasting System.
You from Radio RSA in Johannesburg. Now, world affairs. A renewed flare-up for
Minus Oscar son Wiesno muziek.
Now, music for your tape recorder. Our daily offering of a folk tune from Czechoslovakia to add to your own collection. It's on the air each time at just about this point of our broadcast, so if your taping equipment isn't ready this time, make sure that you're all set for taping the very next time you tune into Radio Club.
And Mike LaGuardia will be with you again tomorrow at this same time to bring you the latest information from Radio Havana, Cuba's newsroom. Hasta mañana.
And now, for Radio Havana, Cuba, editorial comment on current events, broadcast from Beirut.
All let us confess this sin.
There's programs in Arabic and Spanish. We shall be on the air again with another English program at 02:30 hours when it's 11,925 kilofarads.
Today, to me, Dick Saunders, the way to Mayflower, Hailsham, H-A-L-L-S-H-A-M, Hailsham, Sussex, England. Or send your letter to the radio station over which you're hearing this program and request that they write your letter today. King Agrippa said to Paul, almost thou for...
Voice of South Africa, calling the Pacific and mountain zones of the United States of America and the Pacific zone of Canada on 11875 kilohertz in the 25-meter band and 9705 kilohertz in the 31-meter band. It's 3:05 hours Greenwich Mean Time. Time for our program, Touring RSA.
BBC World Service presents The World Today. Ecuador, South America.
ya virtualmente rodeado el brazo de estos del execrable jacal con que adopta. From Prague, Czechoslovakia, your reporter, Vladimir Novy.
Jesse Hochman recently returned from Washington.
On the VOA evening. Post office box 6000, Montreal, Canada. Corporation box 6000, Montreal. ET Radio Canada. This is Canada. Previously, NBC Russia, 19 hours Greenwich Mean Time, and the following frequency. 21,510 kilohertz, that is 13.94 meters, and 15,415 kilohertz, that is 19.46 meters. This concludes our broadcast for this time, and until we leave the air, we invite you to listen to a musical interview. Notre émission est maintenant terminée de la radio des Nations Unies. Jusqu'à ce que nous quittions les ondes, veuillez écouter un intervalle de musique enregistrée. The time, frequency, and quality of reception to the computer age. WNYW 485 Madison Avenue, New York, New York, USA. But address again is the computer age, WNYW 485 Madison Avenue, New York, New York, USA. Letter to Question Editor, Voice of America, Washington, D.C., USA. News, Ottawa. And that's all from our correspondents. This series, the Confederation debate, we have an interview with the Zambian delegate to the Conference on Mining and Groundwater Geophysics in Miami Affairs, and from Expo 67, Coffee Break with them. Come out. The revolution, frontiers, slavery, industrialization, urbanization, the Cold War. These are some of the topics discussed by leading American historians in the current series of foreign lectures on a comparative America within 1-meter bands. Now here's your host for African Panorama. Hello friends, this is Ted Roberts with greetings and salutations from Washington. American, in care of Radio New York Worldwide, 485 Madison Avenue, New York 10022.
On the Ductwell Broadcasting System in Hilversum Hall. News Conesco. A complete resume of the stock markets in New York and overseas can be heard at 2125 Greenwich time. But now stay tuned for an analysis of today's news with Quincy Howe.
This is London calling the Caribbean. In today's edition, the Deputy Secretary... National Bureau of Standards, WWV, Fort Collins, Colorado. Next tone begins at 21 hours, 20 minutes, Greenwich Mean Time. Canada, Hello Majlis, Matthew, 16 hours, 21 minutes.
simple plan of salvation. It is our earnest prayer that you receive the Lord Jesus Christ as your personal Savior. Commit yourself to Him for eternal salvation, and then send us word that we may rejoice with you. For samples of this tract, address your letter to Lifegate, 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 Box 891, Indianapolis. Broadcast has been made possible through the generosity of a Christian businessman. This is Robert Porter bidding you goodbye, and may God bless you.
You're listening to World International Broadcasters, radio station WIMB, America's musical companion to the world, broadcasting from Red Lion, Pennsylvania, United States of America, on 11.795 megacycles with transmitting power of 50,000 watts. We welcome your letters. Let us know the favorite programs that you listen to over WIMB, and we solicit your reception reports. Send your letters to radio station WIMB, Box 88. That's Box 88, Red Lion, Pennsylvania, USA.
Time now for the Dan Smoot Report.
On the front of the liberation struggle. This is Tirana calling. We inform our radio listeners that Radio Tirana broadcasts its transmissions in the English language at the following times and in the following wavelengths. The transmission streams to North America at 12 hours 30 midnight in the 41 and 49 meter band. At 01 hours 30 in the 41 and 49 meter band. At 03 hours in the 41 and 49 meter band. At 11 hours a.m. in the 25 and 31 meter band. The transmission streams to Europe at 06 hours 30 in the 31 and 31 meter band. At 16 hours 30 in the 41 meter band. At 18 hours 30 in the 41 and 49 meter band. At 20 hours 30 in the 41 and 49 meter band. At 22 hours in the 31 and 49 and 215 meter band. All these are broadcasts at Greenwich Mean Time. And that is the end of our broadcast in English, of course to you from Radio Tirana. Goodbye, dear listeners.
City Raceway crossed in the first Lorium, 1450.
Democratic Republic. And now, we would like to a very important announcement. I hope you have your pencils and paper ready.
As of November the 5th, our broadcasting times and frequencies will be as follows. 8 p.m. to 8:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and from 9:30 p.m. to 10:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on 30.82 meters, which is 1,730 kilocycles, and on 31.4, which is 9,500. Broadcasting times and frequencies will be 7:30 to 15 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on 31.09 meters, which is 50 and on 9,560 kilocycles.
The exact words too fast for you. Don't worry about it. We will be giving you the new times and frequencies each day at the same time until the Америки из Вашингтона. Приветствую всех наших слушателей.
Until then, remember to adjust to letters from listeners. GBC, Channel 6. Letters from listeners. Channel service of Radio Gun. Our service is not gun is now closing down until 20 hours in its main time. Only for 11.8 past 4 and now 76 megacycles, 25.31 and 30.74 meters. Good night.
Our next news broadcast will be a World News Bulletin at 22 hours Greenwich Mean Time. That's in 1 hour's time from now. At 21:15, in 15 minutes' time, we'll be presenting the second of two programs which tell the story of Her Majesty's Theatre, London, tracing the history of its great playhouse in London's Haymarket through 2.5 centuries. Roger Snowden is your guide. Time to listen, 21:15. BBC World Service. We present the fourth program in our series.
You have just heard the United Nations News in Hebrew. This is the United Nations broadcasting from UN headquarters in New York in the 30 and 49 meter bands and rebroadcasting over Tangier in the 25 and 41 meter bands. Here now is a summary of United Nations News in French. New York, la radio des Nations Unies. Arrivé à Genève vendredi matin, le secrétaire général des Nations Unies. You have just heard the United Nations News in French. This is the United Nations broadcasting from UN headquarters in New York in the 30 and 49 meter bands and rebroadcasting over Tangier in the 25 and 41 meter bands. Here now is the summary of United Nations News in Italian. La settimana alle Nazioni Unite.
But even more interesting is the revelation in the latter part of this quarter that despite the strong verbal attacks on capitalist tendencies enacted even after the new dispensation, the communists group had more income among the members because they had ascribed to increased production. It was claimed by the Macron to increase the members' share in the income. According to the report, notwithstanding college solution, the common members received 17.6% more for their share of the income in 1968 as compared to 1965. The communists still took recourse to increasing the income of members in order to boost production. Obviously, this is a case of catching the nose from the front or from behind. The difference between what existed in 1965 and in 1968 is that between middle down and present day. Indeed, the very personal line of material incentives continues the model's way. Only a different signboard has been put on. Rather beautiful for the day.
Record commentary broadcast for the day. Then will be written again at 15 hours beginning, followed by commentary. Devotional music next. After 100 hours, radio news. After 10 hours, social visit. And finally, review at 20 hours English Standard Time. Our third service begins as usual with the news at 900 hours, followed by commentary. Live music next at 9:30 hours, radio music. Live instrumental music is followed by quick review at 9:50 hours. Talking of numbers can be heard 5 minutes later. It's 2 songs for the next 6 minutes, and finally, news at 20-5 hours in the time. Madhya Railway will now play the music arrange, in which clusters of bells are struck to reduce the musical noise. And so we come to the end of this transmission in the general overseas service of All India Radio. Our next transmission to listeners in Northeast Asia will be on the air at 15:30 hours in the Standard Time, that is 1000 hours Greenwich Mean Time, on 2105, 2800, and 1455 kilocycles per second, that is 19.86, 16.85, and 13.98 meters. And for listeners in Southeast Asia, and transmission at 1900 hours Indian Standard Time, that is 1330 hours Greenwich Mean Time, will be available on 11,810 and 15,035 kilocycles per second, that is to be transferred for you on 1945 until then, goodbye.
According to the Japanese press, the U.S. Defense Department, in an organization of the U.S. munitions monopoly capitalists, invited a Japanese war industry delegation to visit the United States last October. Leading officials of the U.S. Defense Department and big monopoly capitalists held talks with members of the delegation. Besides inviting them to visit the munitions factory, the U.S. government particularly opened the U.S. Strategic Air Command, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration Space Center, and other top-secret facilities to them. This is reportedly the first time that the U.S. government opened its places to foreign capitalists. U.S. imperialism is also assisting Japan to develop the most advanced branches of military science and technique. Two U.S. monopoly enterprises and Japanese monopoly capital are establishing two joint ventures to produce nuclear fuel in Japan. Last July, U.S. Secretary of State Rogers and Japanese Foreign Minister Aichi exchanged letters on U.S. assistance to Japan in the research and manufacture of large-type rockets. The U.S. government also agreed to provide Japan with technical data for the production of nuclear-capable phantom fighter bombers. All these facts show that a military collusion between U.S. imperialism and the Japanese reactionaries is being strengthened continuously. However, the conspiracies of the U.S.-Japanese reactionaries are doomed to failure. If the reactionary Bato government embarks on a venture and follows U.S. imperialism to unleash a war of aggression, the newly awakening Japanese and other Asian people, closely united and fighting heroically, will completely buried together with its master, U.S. imperialism. You have just heard a report entitled U.S. imperialism and the Japanese reactionaries are tightening their military collusion. Let us move to Radio Fonte.
Francis John Ginster, Jean Howard Lacey, and James Deward Lacey. First, you will hear the letter sent by Carl David Brosnahan to the Governor of New Jersey.
Governor Richard Hughes, Office of the Governor, New Jersey, USA. Dear Sir, I am 20 years old and a resident of Trenton, New Jersey, and I hope to have a future ahead of me, as does the entire crew of the USS Pueblo. The USS Pueblo was involved in espionage activities along the east coast of the Democratic People's Republic, that I was which is how I have been treated so far. Another thing which might be considered by the Democratic People's Republic of Korea in making a decision as to our fate is that our government acknowledges and accepts the responsibility for the both stated crimes and openly apologizes to the Democratic People's Republic of Korea for these crimes and guarantees that such an incident will not occur in the future. I sincerely hope that you will do everything you can to persuade our government to apologize and to fully cooperate with the Democratic People's Republic of Korea in order for them to make a decision in the near future as to what will be. Respectfully yours, Paul David Russman, Communications Technician, 3rd Class Petty Officer.
That was Paul David Brosnahan, a crew member of the spy ship Pueblo, reading a letter to the Governor of New Jersey. You will now hear a letter sent by Robert James Hammond to the Government of the United States.
Washington, D.C., USA. Dear Sir, this is a letter of appeal on behalf of the crew of the Pueblo and myself to be returned as soon as possible to the United States. Due to the situation, it is of my feeling that the attitude of the U.S. government is of deep importance in determining when our release from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea will be possible. To be frank, when the order to commence emergency discussion was given, I destroyed any flexible equipment I could see with a submarine and later wouldn't classify documents until a Pueblo was boarded. We destroyed all equipment of importance and as many documents as possible in order to conceal our activities. At first I denied my mission, but later admitted to what my job was and the mission of the Pueblo. This was in view of the fact that I was personally showing the documents concerning the mission and the espionage activities of the Pueblo that were captured by the naval forces of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. I have also personally been shown the secret and top secret documents pertaining to the acts of espionage committed by the Pueblo. I have also seen the ship's logbook and daily summary reports on intelligence information gathered and charts showing the positions at which the Pueblo intruded several times into the territorial waters of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Therefore, the above information clearly shows that the Pueblo was engaged in overt espionage activities in the territorial waters of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. It is only fitting that the U.S. government should apologize and give assurances to the government of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea that such acts of aggression will not occur again. We were captured in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea territorial waters while carrying on espionage activities. Therefore, we are not covered by the Red Cross or the Geneva Convention, nor are we prisoners of war, but spies and will be dealt with as such. However, the government of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea has this far treated us in a humanitarian way. We have been given a warm room and bed to sleep in, and 3 square meals a day. The wounded and sick have been given medical treatment, and we have been given the articles in which to keep ourselves clean and healthy, such as soap, toothbrush, paste, and etc. However, such treatment has its limits and cannot be continued indefinitely if the U.S. government continues to follow with a negative attitude. So far, the government of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea has continued treating us in the above humanitarian manner. In my opinion, this is in view of the fact that all the officers and some of the crew have risen and signed confessions, that everyone has admitted to the fact that the USS Pueblo was an espionage ship engaged in espionage activities into the territorial waters of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea at the time of our capture. That everyone has signed a joint letter of apology written by our officers to the people and the government of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea for infringing on their privacy and being a threat to the security and national defense. Also, since we have sincerely asked for forgiveness and are frankly repenting for our crimes, the government of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, in my opinion, is willing to repatriate us if the U.S. government will comply to the wishes of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Their only and true desire is for the peaceful reunification of the entire Korean people. Therefore, if the government of the United States will apologize, admit to the sponsorship of the Pueblo and its mission, and assure the government of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea that such acts of aggression will not occur again, in this case to be solved in short time and enabling us to return home at the earliest possible date. Very respectively, that is James Hannon, Sergeant, Radio and Intercept Operator, United States Marine Corps.
This is Radio Havana, Cuba, presenting the 11th in a series of programs of testimonies related to the capture of the U.S. spy ship Pueblo in North Korean territorial waters. You have just heard a letter from Robert James Hammond to the U.S. government. We will now bring you a message from Francis John Ginster of the Pueblo's crew to the government of the United States.
Government of the United States, Washington, D.C., United States of America. We, the crew of the USS Pueblo, have been captured by the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. We have been charged with committing the act of espionage. The secret and top secret documents captured and now in the possession of the Korean People's Army reveal conclusively and undeniably that we are guilty of espionage. It was also pointed out to our navigational charts and records that we violated territorial waters several times. These facts were also confirmed in the confessions made by the officers. The evidence was presented to the crew and fully reveals the truth of our mission. During our capture, I, along with other men, conducted emergency destruction. I destroyed important equipment and some documents. However, time was insufficient for us to destroy everything. At first, I denied we were conducting espionage. But after I saw the evidence, I could no longer deny this fact. The denial by the United States of all acts of espionage could in no way be justified because of the evidence captured. Our letters are our only means in which we may communicate with you and ask for your help. By these letters, we hope you will be convinced that there can be no denial to our acts because the evidence is concrete and proves that we of the USS Pueblo are guilty of espionage. As we all know, espionage is a serious offense, and we could be dealt with severely. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea has treated us humanly and leniently. We are being treated well in view of the crimes we committed. Of great importance to us is the fact that we may be able to return home. In order for us to realize our dream of returning home, we ask that the United States fulfill the following three items. First, we ask that the United States admit to our acts of espionage. Second, apologize to the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And third, guarantee that these acts of espionage are conducted against the Democratic People's Republic of Korea in the future. These statements must be formal and official. These three statements are of vital importance and will play an extremely important part in our return to our homeland, our families, loved ones, and friends. We can only ask that you understand our concern to our future, and mainly the future of our families. These three statements will have a bearing on whether or not our future will be bright or dim. We ask you to understand that anything you can do to help us is of vital importance to us. I realize that this is by no means an easy task. It is hard to have to admit guilt, but that isn't the most important thing. We, the USS Pueblo, are a mere 82 in number. One member of our crew has died. This is just a very minute portion of America compared to the millions of citizens in the United States. We are not concerned just for ourselves, as I'm sure we all give our lives for our country, just as other countrymen would for their country. But our concern is for the hundreds of innocent people involved, namely our wives, children, parents, brothers, sisters, and other relatives that have been made suffer heartache and sorrow as a result of this. Considering that approximately 40 members of the crew were married, and at least 60 children are innocently involved, then consider the parents and all other relatives, it is easy to see where hundreds of people are involved. I can only think of the thoughts in their minds as their lives have been changed overnight from a life of joy and happiness into a life of turmoil and fear of the unknown. The dreams we have of raising our families now appear very dim. There is still a light of hope in our hearts that we may still carry out these dreams through the admission to our acts by the United States government. I have never been subject to anything that has troubled my head as now, to realize that I myself have committed acts of espionage, and through these acts have brought sorrow and sadness not only to my family, but to the families of my friends and shipmates as well. I think of the many children that are involved, many of which are very, very young, and a few cases of children not yet born into the world. I think of our lives that know not what their future holds, and the trouble and fears that fill in their hearts. I also think of our parents, many of which are elderly and suffering from ill health. How this has affected them is also unknown to us, and is a heavy burden in our hearts and minds. I think of the suffering and sorrow inflicted into the hearts of the families that have lost their sons as a result of this. I can only ask humbly, as we are powerless, that we not be made suffer these tribulations any longer. This depends upon you, the leaders of the United States government. I feel that the admission to our hearts is not the hard price to pay, as we are now paying deep within our hearts. As I see the men that I have worked, lived, and had many good times with, I can notice the sadness that lies deep within their hearts. The men that I know as being happy and jovial now reflect in their faces the sadness and trouble that is contained deep within their hearts. I know their concern for their families is as great as the concern I feel for mine. Being placed in a position as we are now there has made me realize many things. There are many thoughts entering my mind, as well as the minds of my shipmates, of things we should have said or done. I realize that these are in our past and cannot be changed. We will talk with regret in some cases and joy in others, but now I realize that these aren't as important as what lies ahead in the future. I realize that my aim in life is to be known other than to help people. In order to pursue this aim and desire, as well as the aims and desires of my shipmates, we must be given a second chance. This second chance rests with you, the leaders of our United States government. I have always been taught of our religious beliefs and regret deeply that I haven't learned to listen to them. Again, this is in the past and cannot be undone. As I look to the future, my aim is that of becoming a minister. I feel as though I would pray I may be able to help others. I can only hope and pray for this second chance for your understanding and willingness to help us. The wrongs done by us cannot be undone. We must therefore look to you, our leaders and fellow Americans, to deliver us from this. I realize that in many cases the price we are now paying will not be enough, and that we may still have to pay even more for our actions. I realize, too, that many families will not be able to return to a normal, happy life, but will be made suffer sadness and heartache even further. This will always be a burden on our hearts. I ask for your complete understanding that we long for and love our families and don't want to cause them any more sadness than has been placed upon their hearts and minds already. Our lives and futures, however they may look to us now, depend upon you. Maybe through some experience of your own, you know exactly how we feel. Maybe you were given that second chance, which we now appeal to you for. These things I do not know, but ask that you might realize and understand how we feel. I have oft times asked myself why we can't live together in the world in the peace and harmony God intended for all mankind. It burdens my heart to realize that there is fighting in the world when there are unconquered foes of all mankind, such as hunger, disease, and poverty. Now, as we write these letters, a small flame is kindled within our hearts, that you may free us from this, so we may pursue our life's aim of living in peace and fellowship with our families and loved ones. It is one of the basic principles of our forefathers of the United States that each man be entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is what we, as Americans, ask you for now. The truth revealed in the documents, charts, letters, as well as the confessions of the officers and men to our acts of espionage, places our fate and the fate of our families directly upon you, our leaders. If you are only able to see the evidence compiled, I know there could be no other course of action for you to follow except to admit to these acts of espionage committed by us, crew of the USS Pueblo. Even though, as I said previously, it isn't easy to admit guilt, I feel that when the destiny of 82 men and hundreds of innocent people are involved, it isn't too much to ask. A formal joint letter of apology has been made by the officers. The crew has signed this letter, signed for it as a sincere apology to the democratic People's Republic of Korea for our committed acts of espionage against them. This may sound sufficient. The final admission, apology, and guarantee must come from you, the United States government. So this would stay with you for these statements, which are only hope, along with the human understanding and sympathy of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. I ask now in closing that you will not further our stay here, but hasten the process which will deliver us unto our homeland, families, and loved ones. I ask for forgiveness from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, you, the leaders of the government of the United States of America, our families, and all others that have been affected by our actions. In this letter, I have been only able to express a small portion of the sadness, regret, and sorrow that is and will always be a burden to me. My feelings of sorrow could not be put into words. I ask for you to try and realize how we must feel as we depend on you for help. May God bless you all, and may He forgive us and guide our lives. Very respectfully, Pastor John Griffith, Communications Technician, First Class, United States Navy, USS Pueblo, AGGR-2.
March will record Eastern Europe. His purpose? To ensure that no other communist state recognized West Germany until the West Germans have accepted the division of their country and the existence of his own East German state. Ulbricht's holding action succeeded. By the end of 1967, he felt strong enough to clamp down on Christmas visits between East and West Berliners. The Soviet Union sent a tough note to Bonn, denouncing
presented by the Evangelistic Voice of Haiti in cooperation with the Voice of America in Washington and from the Radio 4 VEH Weather Department. Join us again tomorrow morning for another program of Real-Time Weather. Voice of Haiti with studios and transmitters located near the city of Cape Haitian, Haiti, West Indies. We are transmitting on frequencies of 11.825 megacycles in the 25-meter band, 9.770 megacycles in the 31-meter band, and 890 kilocycles in the standard broadcast band. At this time, we are being joined on the following frequencies: 6.120 megacycles in the 49-meter band, 2.450 megacycles in the 120-meter band, and 135 kilocycles in the standard broadcast band. We invite you to remain tuned for the remainder of this transmission of programs in the English language. Eastern Standard Time, 7:15. Frontier should not be interpreted as being to rise in the gold.
来把这。
Отличным ударом забивает гол Газдаль. Испытание игра уравнивается. Хозяева поля чаще контратакуют. Отрыв успех. Затем только выходит вперед, а за сильным до конца Лизаренко смотрит встречу ключей.
Сегодняшний матч, несмотря на холодную дождливую погоду, привлек многих болельщиков на стадион.
Messages in this instructive series in our new Radio Bible Class booklet, which will be sent to you without cost or obligation. Send your request to Radio Bible Class, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and you'll receive your copy of the booklet on angels, free and postage paid. That's Radio Bible Class, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Many thousands of copies of these interesting messages by our beloved Dr. DeHaan have already been published in booklet form. These messages were first broadcast several years ago, and the original response would indicate that there will be a tremendous demand for this new edition. Richard DeHaan has scheduled the rebroadcast of these unique messages by his father during this month, and we would urge every listener to make a real effort to tune in for these messages by the founder of Radio Bible Class, Dr. M.R. DeHaan. And then be sure to write for your free copy of the booklet containing these messages in printed form. Remember, there is no cost or obligation, and there will be no follow-up circularization of those who write for this helpful literature. Just send your request on a card or letter to Radio Bible Class, Grand Rapids, Michigan. That's Radio Bible Class, Grand Rapids, Michigan. In Canada, it's Box 567, Terminal A, Toronto. Ask for the booklet entitled The Angels of God, or simply mention the series by Dr. DeHaan. And be sure to be with us next week, same time, same station, for the second lesson on this interesting subject. Our music today was under the direction of Claire Hess, and this is Ralph Miller speaking for Richard DeHaan and the entire staff, bidding you goodbye until next week, and urging you to keep on praying, working, and watching. Gospel music and Bible teaching was presented by Radio Bible Class and originated in Grand Rapids, Michigan, the United States of America. This is Trans World Radio, telling the world of redemption from Bonaire, Netherlands, Antilles. Govori Sofia. Radio Sofia предава за българите в Северна Америка всеки ден от 6 часа и 30 минути до 7 часа след обед, източно стандартно време. This is Sofia, Bulgaria calling. This is Sofia, Bulgaria calling. Radio España in Barcelona operates on 1124 kilohertz. And now let's listen to another interesting Spanish station, Radio Madrid. Gracias por su atención. Radio Madrid. There we are, another interesting Spanish station ID, Radio Madrid, operating on 800 kilohertz. Spain has round about 80 stations broadcasting on the medium wave band, and I hope to bring you a lot more of these interesting station IDs from Spain in the very near future. And now it's time to press that magic headline. And the eastern south has been driven back to its hidden vessels, setting the views on radio offset. Next, we heard a 24-hour OET from now and the frequency to which you're tuned. Now it's time to this next to our program as course for Sunday the 10th of December. In part 1 we have requests from Pakistan, India and Indonesia. In Pakistan, the 1 a.m. venue. We'd like to hear something which is rather appropriate from the year, Silent Night. Unfortunately, Eloise was not available to sing it, and instead of giving us Thank Snow. So there you are, Silent Night Western Style from Hank Snow for the William A. Daniel of Chittagong, Pakistan. Now to India. Let them do the thing of Ludhiana. We'd like to Elvis Presley singing Easy Come, Easy Go. I'm afraid words have gone out of that song for a moment. So they have developed a substitution. And guess what they've given us? No trouble at all. Long-legged girl with a short sleeve. Well, that was a short one, anyway. A short verse too. Long-legged girl sung by Elvis Presley for Miss Gordon be the sing of Ludhiana, India. Miss Jennifer Rang of Bihar, India, would like to hear something stupid. Okay, that's the part of the song from Frank and Nancy Sinatra. Well, before I play the next request, I'm going to read the names of listeners who hear them for this program. For Sunday in this program. Here they are. Mr. and Mrs. A.K. Rania of Gaya, Bihar, India. Miss Cheryl Kane, Lasio, Burma. Ipsam Waki of Jimbo, Jambi Jaya, Jambi.
Good morning, Mr. Phelps. The man you're looking at is Colonel Marcus von Frank, who has led the recent resurgence of the neo-Nazis. Arnold Kellman, head of the largest munitions plant in all Europe, is preparing to turn over to von Frank complete control of his vast industrial empire. With such a huge financial base, there's no question that von Frank could become a second Adolf Hitler, fanatically dedicated to the overthrow of democracy wherever it exists. Your mission, Jim, should you decide to accept it, is to stop Kellman and von Frank. As always, should you or any of your IM force be caught or killed, the Secretary will disavow any knowledge of your actions. This recording will self-destruct in 5 seconds. Good luck, Jim.
Una radio magica con la K. www.letteralmente.info presenta Letteralmente Radio by Yoga Network. Nostro indirizzo di posta elettronica radioyoganetwork@gmail.com oppure letteralmente_letteralmente.info. Ricordate, ci siamo trasferiti da www.letteralmente.online a www.letteralmente.info. Una radio magica con la K. Letteralmente radio, una radio con tante radio dentro.
amore e buona energia, letteralmente Radio Yoga Network. Fa bene al corpo e allo spirito.
Sei all'ascolto di K Radio, un'emozione nuova. Dal passato un nuovo presente. kradiobologna@gmail.com